This is Canada Reads American Style, featuring two friends who love Canada Reads and Canadian literature. Welcome our host Rebecca from Michigan and Tara from Ontario.
Hi everyone, it is Rebecca and Tara, and today our topic is going to be Pride Month picks. And I have to say, we haven't traditionally done like women's history or Black history, etc. But Tara and I thought it would be a good idea for us to start doing that just because I look at other people's lists and we would like to be able to add to that conversation, right?
Yeah, it's always, and some people do tend to use like those themes as a jumping off point for their monthly reading. I don't always, but some people do.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, let me start out just to ask how you've been. What have you been up to?
I'm good. I have a sick kitty cat.
Oh,
Yeah, big guy Thor is in the kitty cat hospital. He's doing
oh,
well.
good, good.
Yeah, but he's got like crystals, which cats get quite often. So a little
Mm-hmm.
blocked urinary tract bladder thing. So
Yeah.
he's not with us at the moment. He is at the hospital, but hopefully he's coming home tomorrow.
Oh,
But the
well.
vet has been wonderful, sending me pictures of him with his little
Oh,
IV in, and he's so
oh,
cute.
oh gosh.
Ah,
Well, I love Thor too. So we're sending positive
yep,
vibes to him for very quick healing, and he'll be back with everybody
yep.
soon. That would be great.
And how about you? What are you up to?
You know what? I just have to keep saying this probably over and over and over again, but I'm still reading the Ted Kennedy biography, loving every minute of it.
Awesome.
So, and I finally, all of you probably already know this, but it's like, duh, I finally downloaded the audio version so that when I go outside for a walk or something, I can listen to it. So that's been working really well for me, and I will continue to do that in the future.
You're doing a hybrid reading. I think
Yeah.
that turned so good. I haven't done that before. So yeah.
And I was saying to you too that it makes me feel like because it's 600 pages, so it
Mm,
makes me feel really like I'm blowing through it because when I come home or I have to like adjust my physical copy or my audio copy, I feel like I'm just blowing
yeah.
past chapters. I am obviously listening to or reading them all, but it just feels quicker,
Oh yeah.
which for me I don't normally read a book over 350 pages.
Yep.
So,
No, it's a good way for you to get through a big book. I feel like that would also that sensation of like moving the bookmark, like in your
mhm.
physical book, would be like checking something off your checklist. Like just like boom. And that's like an awesome feeling.
Yeah, so I definitely will do that again for books this size, and I think maybe that will help me not be so reticent to open up a really big honker of a book.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that would be good. But
Nice.
okay, so Pride Month picks. What
Okay.
do you want to bring to the table first?
Okay. Well, this was really interesting because once we decided that we were going to do this topic, I ended up really having to think about it. Like usually whenever we choose a particular topic, it's always like bam, bam, bam. But this one I realized I really kind of had to dig a little bit because I'm feel like I don't purposely read books by or about queer authors or characters.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So I really had to it was a reevaluation of some of my reading. It was kind of weird. So, but I'm going to go with an older book, which I think I may have mentioned once before on the podcast, but I reread it within the last couple years. And it is Fall on Your Knees by Anne Marie MacDonald. So, and this is a big chunker of a book, Rebecca, and this would be a great one for you to do as a hybrid reading.
Okay.
I'm just saying, because I think you would really, really like this book because so it was written in 1996, takes place Cape Breton in 1920s to maybe 1940. I'm guesstimating that last date, but it's kind of this epic family saga, which I don't think you're a huge fan of. However, it's this one I think I think you would enjoy this. I'm going to say it
Hmm.
again. So it's essentially about four sisters, Kathleen, Mercedes, Frances, and Lily, and their father, James, and their mother. I can't remember her name, and I forgot to write it down. James is from Cape Breton, so he's Caucasian. Their mother is Lebanese. So the sisters are mixed race, as is Anne Marie MacDonald, which is kind of interesting. And so Anne Marie MacDonald is herself queer. And one of the sisters, Kathleen, the oldest sister in the book, moves to New York City. She's the oldest sister. She's beautiful. She has a beautiful singing voice, extremely talented. She moves to New York City to pursue a career in singing, where she meets Rose, an African-American cross-dressing woman who plays the piano for her music lessons. This would be in the 1920s that she moves to New York, and their relationship is kind of carried throughout the book in a really cool way. I don't want to put any spoilers, but the fact that there's a mixed race relationship, a queer relationship with Kathleen's story, especially in 1996 when this book was written, is kind of like groundbreaking. And in that particular point in history would also have been completely taboo. So Kathleen's relationship and her story is just a part of the book, because you get every sister's story and the father's story, but that is the strongest queer element of the book, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story.
Was this a Canada Reads book? Do you know?
I don't know. It was an Oprah book. It was an Oprah pick.
Oh, okay.
Back way back. I would be surprised if it wasn't on Canada Reads at some point, because it's like an iconic Canadian lit book right now, I would say.
Yeah.
At this point. And Anne Marie has a new book that came out I think in the fall, called Fayne, Fayne, which is supposed to be like her queerest book yet. I haven't read it, but I'm looking at it right now because I have it. But yeah, she's amazing. Yeah.
Well, it's funny when you say that, which is true. I don't really necessarily read those big family sagas. I have, and I've really enjoyed some. But it so makes me realize this, and as well as queer literature, I just don't know why I haven't picked these books up. And this is one of the things when I started to look at titles to talk about. Boy, I'll tell you, I didn't have a whole lot to choose from. And I think because I spent the last few years really reading a lot of Indigenous authors. And the only Indigenous book I read with queer characters or by a queer author is Joshua Whitehead's. I can't remember the title of it now. Which one was
Johnny
it?
Appleseed.
Yeah, Johnny Appleseed. And that's not to say there aren't gay characters in other books, but I'm just saying I realized that there, especially in the Indigenous world, there's so much queer literature as well. There's so much intersectionality there, but I just have not picked those up. And so I thought, okay, I got some work to do, clearly. Yep. So anyway, so the first book I want to talk about is one that I read. I think I read it at the end of last year. But anyway, I loved it so much, and I absolutely have to talk about it again because I think it's one that has not been really noticed by a lot of people. And it seems to me, I don't know that even Canadian libraries have picked it up. And so I just want to keep pushing it out there and telling people to buy this book, which is titled, it's nonfiction, Missed Connections, a Memoir and Letters Never Sent by Brian Francis. And I'm going to read a little bit of the blurb from Goodreads because sometimes I can't remember books that well to talk about them. But so in 1992, he was a college student. He was still in the closet, but he wanted a loving relationship. And so he placed a personal ad in a local newspaper, which back in 1992, if you think about it, right, that's really old school. So anyway, he received 25 responses, but there were 13 letters that he just never answered, and he sort of tucked them away. And then nearly 30 years later, he pulled those letters back out and he decides to respond to them. Now, not literally to where he's actually sending them to the individual who sent the original letter, but it's basically, he talks about his life in context of the times back then and now, subjects like body image, aging, desire, the price of secrecy, being in the closet, being out of the closet. So it's just really wonderful. But I want to read this because I cannot say it as well as they wrote it in Goodreads. And it says, Misconnections is an open-hearted, irreverent, often hilarious, and always bracingly honest examination of the pieces of our past we hold close and all that we lose along the way. It is also a profoundly affecting meditation on how Brian's generation, the queer people who emerged following the generation hit hardest by AIDS, were able to step out from the shadows and into the light. In an age when the promise of love is just a tap or swipe away, this extraordinary memoir reminds us that our yearning for connection and self acceptance is timeless.
Mm,
So I loved this book so much. I ended the year with it. It was one of my best reads the whole year. And I love Brian Francis. I want everyone to read this book. So there's my pitch.
yeah.
Please look for it in your public library. And if they don't have it, ask your library to buy it. And if you, which usually they will if you ask them to buy it. And if not, buy it a copy yourself, which is what I did. So
Well, pitch worked on me. It's on my list. I haven't read it yet, but it will be.
I think you will really love it. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. My second choice is a book that I just finished. Again, but it's an older title, and it's from 2012. And it's the graphic novel memoir, Are You My Mother by Alison Bechdel. Have you heard of this one, Rebecca?
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I've had this one. I don't even know when I bought this, but I bought this like several years ago. I can't remember where. Like, I don't even, maybe I didn't buy it. I don't know how I got this book, but I've had it for years.
Mhm.
I had started reading it at one point and then abandoned it, but kept it. And so I picked it up early last week, kind of thing. And I know I reached the point where I abandoned it. And I could see why I abandoned it, only because that sounds terrible. There's a lot to this book, but I persevered this time and it was totally worth it because it is essentially about Alison's relationship with her mother. Her mother, who is not a happy woman, she found herself at a young age in an unhappy marriage with, I think, 3 small children, and she'd given up her dream of acting, like any artistic pursuits, to be in this unhappy marriage. Her relationship with Alison is they're close, but Alison is a lesbian. And she has, prior to this book, she wrote another memoir, which was about her father who commits suicide. So the impetus for this book at the beginning is that she now wants to write a book about her mother, and she's trying to tell her mother, this is what I wanted, like trying to brace her mother for this news.
Mhm.
And her mother's like, well, I want to see your name. And Alison also, prior to this, I think her first thing, she did a comic strip. Oh, I forgot to write down the name of the comic strip, but it was Life with Dykes or something like that, something to that extent.
Mhm.
And her mother was like, I want to see your name on a book, but does it have to be about lesbians? Right. So
Oh.
it's, yeah, which is, so that right there just tells you a lot about it. But so that's
Yeah.
essentially what the book is about. But at the same time, what she does, I'm really, the memoir as a, in the form of a graphic novel, I am really digging these lately. It is, because it's
Yeah.
amazing what these artists can do, because she gives you almost like train of thought on one page. Like it's she's giving you like a dream session, and then what she's thinking about psychoanalysis
Mhm.
and Freud. She's throwing Virginia Woolf at you, and then she might be having a conversation with her mom on the phone at the same time.
Mm.
And you get her relationships with various women that she's had throughout the last several years at this point. And this seems like a lot, but the way she does it through pictures and her words, it just all kind of flows, and you get this whole sense of their relationship and her life. It's just quite beautiful. It's endearing. What she not endearing. Oh, that sounds, I don't like that word. I don't know. I can't think of the word I want, but like
Yeah.
it's encompassing how she
Yeah.
does it, and you're like there. And there were moments like especially she was really, especially at that point time in her life, into psychoanalysis. and talking about several key players in the fields. And honestly, I didn't understand most of that because sometimes it got a little technical,
Hmm.
but it didn't matter. I'm like, I don't think I have to understand this. That's just what the character is into. But I don't need to know it in order to enjoy it.
I think two things are interesting.
Yeah.
One is that I think you're right. Graphic novels are able to give us a wealth of information in different ways visually that maybe you
Yeah.
can't do in the written word.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. Unless you do like a really cutting edge kind of, experimental sort of text in
Hmm.
a written book, and sometimes that doesn't work for readers. But the other thing I wanted to ask was, at what point, when you said you abandoned, which I like to say,
Yeah.
you just set it aside. So when you
Yes, yeah.
set it aside, why did like you said, when you got to that point, you knew why you did it. So why did you set it aside?
I think because I was too hung up on the technical psychoanalysis talk,
Hmm.
right? Because at this point in the book there was a lot of it, and there was like she had pictures of that showed text, like blurbs from the textbooks and stuff like this. And I think because I don't really get that stuff, I just got bogged down by it
Hmm.
and closed the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. This time I don't know, because I think I have changed my reading, and a little, like, I've given myself grace to not always understand stuff.
You've
Right.
done that really well, though, because you've
Hmm.
really tackled some interesting titles. And you've kinda said that, and I think it's so smart to do it that way, because why should we let something hold us up when maybe it's like you say, it's just like a small part of it, and you can move through the rest of it and enjoy something
Yeah.
altogether,
Yeah.
so
And in the end, I mean, I did take something from it, and I think the what she was doing was a very large part of the character and the book, and
mhm,
how she, like, got through her relationship with her mom, how she addressed it and stuff. But yeah, like, I didn't need to understand every word of this textbook that was being highlighted, kind of thing.
yeah. Cool, that sounds interesting.
Yeah,
I'll have to
I
look at
really
that.
enjoy. Yeah, and she's got a new one out, I believe. I, of course, didn't write down the name. I am, because I'm a terrible podcast host, apparently. But but I will, like, I wanna check out her new book, and I'm gonna go back and find her first book, which was about her father.
Hmm, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we can put those in the show notes too, so if you send me those
Yes,
titles that
I
you're
will.
talking about, yeah, I'll include those in the show notes, so great. My next book is it's actually, I think it's considered a YA novel, but a lot of readers really felt that it was a middle grade book, but then they said, "Oh, but with some dark elements." So to
Mm,
me, sometimes the labels really drive me crazy. I
me
don't really
too.
care. I'm just gonna let you know that it was a youth book, so whatever that means to you. But it's Elatsoe by Darcie Little Badger, and she herself is Lippin Apache. So she's written this character, and of course, I just realized I forgot to write down the girl's name. Cannot remember it. Okay, anyway, she can raise the ghosts from the past. Like that's one
Mm.
of her sort of it's magical realism, and it's the United States, sort of current times, but with a lot of different kind of magical elements to it. So that was kind of a fun thing. And her beloved cousin has just been murdered in this small town that's really creepy. And also, one of the characters in the book is Kirby, which is the main character's ghost dog.
Oh.
But the reason I'm bringing this book up is what I loved about it, because right off, I think really close to the beginning of the book, you discover the main character is Arrow Ace. And I
Mm.
love that because I thought to myself, first of all, I had just discovered what that meant. I didn't even
Mhm.
know what that meant. And so it's aromantic and asexual basically. And plus I love that it was in a book that could be for any age group of young people as well as adults. And it was said in such a subtle way. It was just sort of said, and then it just carried on. And so I have to say, for me as a reader, what it meant was oh, this is going to sound really bad, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It made me realize that no matter what characters came along, there wasn't going to be this cheesy romance that could potentially derail it. Because
Yeah.
sometimes that happens, especially like in young adult books.
Mm-hmm.
They really need to have some kind of a romance. And the fact that that's not who she is, that's not her interest, that's not who, it's just not who she is as a human being.
Yep.
It kind of took it off the table. And I really was able to just enjoy the story
Yeah.
and not have to worry about some manufactured thing that just feels a little odd to me. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, Elatsoe, it's one of her best titles. It's a big award-winning book. She's written other books for other ages and everything, but I absolutely loved Elatsoe. So please, I highly recommend that one as well.
Yeah. This one again is on my list because of you, and I really can't wait to read it.
And I believe I could be wrong, but I believe there might be a sequel at some point with this main character, which I really hope there is. I'm really looking forward to that. So
what I really like too about it, and although I haven't read the book, so maybe but it sounds like it's incidental, like the character, like I think this is when you show true diversity and inclusion, when the characters are just diverse as part of the character and that's not the main story. You know what I mean? Like that's not what you're coming for. It's just there.
I 100% agree. And that's why I say it's sort of mentioned, I think, sort of right at the beginning, but then it's just not, she doesn't point it out. She doesn't make a big deal of it. That's what I love about it. It's just, she's just living her life. She's just is who she is. And there's no, big notification to everyone or people talking about it. It's just who she is. She's accepted by her family and her friends for who she is. And I just love that. It's very natural. Yeah. It's a good point.
Okay. Book 3. I am going like right off the tracks, completely different from my first 2 books.
Ooh.
I know. I am going with Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. You know what I'm talking about?
I totally know what you're talking about. Yes.
So straight up romance. Oh my gosh, it's lovely. It was written in 2019. I think I read it maybe around that time or 2020, around then. I loved this book so much. And it is about the son of the American president, Alex, and his relationship with his longtime nemesis, the Royal Prince Henry. It's so lovely. It's great. The American president is a woman. So,
Yay.
Alex is mixed race himself, as his mother, the president, is Caucasian. His father is a Latino. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. It's fun. It's romantic. It's a little spicy. There is sex for those who don't want to read, because some people don't want sex in their book.
Yeah.
There is sex. It's not like super spicy and, but it's there. I liked it. I was cool with it. It's fun.
It's been on my list forever because everyone who reads it, I swear, I don't think I've ever heard anyone not absolutely love it and just be entertained by it and how fun it was. So, yeah.
It's a great one. I really liked it. I read another of hers. Oh, of course, I didn't look up the name. That's terrible, because I enjoyed this one so much that when the next book came out, I was like, oh, I'm going to grab that. But I wasn't a big fan of it, actually.
Okay.
I'm going to look it up right now. But this one I just really enjoyed. It had like the tension, because it's like an enemies to lovers trope as well. And it had that cool tension. Oh, One Last Stop. That was her book that from 2021. That one I didn't love that much. I did read it. Like I didn't not read it or didn't finish it, but it wasn't Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the subject of that one, basically? I mean, is a romance as well?
Yeah, that one also was a romance. And that was, can't remember character names. The main character meets a woman on a subway. So she's on the subway in, I'm going to say New York City. Could be wrong. And she meets this woman on the subway. First, she just sees her and is attracted to her. And then every time when she would be on the subway at this certain time, this woman would always be there. And it comes to that this woman is caught basically in a time loop. Like she got stuck on the subway and can't get off from like 70s or the 80s. So she's like this really cool punk rocker
Yeah.
kind of chick. They fall in love, they have a relationship, but she can't leave the subway.
That does sound really interesting, though.
It is, I think because I did finish it and I liked it and I really liked the character. I think her name was Jane, was the one that stuck on the subway. I really liked that character. And there were like secondary characters that I think of now and I really enjoyed them. There was a drag queen, like her roommate was a drag queen. So I love drag queens. So I really liked that. I think I just wasn't a huge fan of the main character. I think I found her a little bit whiny or something. So I didn't really like her.
Yeah.
And normally I don't need to like a character in order to like a book, but she annoyed me. So I
Yeah.
don't need to like you, but you can't annoy me kind of thing.
That does happen
And
sometimes.
yeah.
I probably have too many of those kind, but yeah. Wow, that's okay. Well,
Yeah.
red, white, and royal blue. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
surprised at all. I think
Yeah.
that, yeah, like I said, everybody
I
seems to
think it's
love
a
that.
classic. Yeah. I think it's a good one to read.
Yeah, I think it's a modern classic.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so my third one is a book that I read because the author reached out and asked if we wanted to read it. And this is when Shauna and I were doing the podcast together. Shauna did not read it, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. It's Cam and Beau by Maria Cichosz. And if you want to
Yeah.
listen to the podcast, it's from November 23rd, 2020. And basically, I'm going to read the little blurb because, again, it's been years since I read it now at this point. But Cam and Beau are best friends, roommates, and massive potheads. And not just potheads, they're like doing other kind of drugs too, by the way. But anyway, it says life is sweet except for one crucial thing. Cam will never get up the nerve to tell Beau Larkey he's in love with him. Cam is a man of thought, not action, and would rather linger in doubt than risk losing the friendship. That is, until the mysterious and unwelcome involvement of a mutual friend with an unshakable conviction that Beau reciprocates Cam's feelings and needs to be told the truth. And let me just say, this was what felt like a very realistic and very painful love story. And I couldn't put it down. I can't remember how many pages it is. It's pretty big. And Maria herself, I think she has a PhD. Yeah, she has a PhD. And she's written this with a lot of references to philosophy and philosophers. And think I'd even asked her in the podcast, like, even if you don't know all of those people, can you still enjoy this book? And she said,
Yeah.
of course, yes. So obviously the people who do know the references will get a lot more out of it, or I'll just say they will get more out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas I loved it. I was crazy angry because I wanted to kick Cam in the butt so many times and just say, tell him you love him. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
just going crazy, but it was very realistic, and the pain and the angst and everything they went through together, it just resonated. And it's set in Toronto, and I can't remember the time period. It's a number of years ago. Maybe it was like in the 80s or 90s or something, 90s maybe. Anyway, set in Toronto. So that was really kind of a fun thing because she references places that I sort of recognize as well. So that was kind of cool. But she said she was wanting to write a sequel because I do feel like it needs a sequel.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen her active on social media at all. She was teaching at the professor level the last I knew. And so she just may be very busy and can't really do it. But I really hope that someday she does. And I want to encourage people to read it because, again, I think it's a book, and it made it on different lists. Like, I don't know if it was CBC or other sort of notable lists from the Toronto area, but it did make some lists. And I think it was in the Toronto Globe and Mail. I think so. It made one of their lists. But anyway, I think it's a book that maybe not a lot of people picked up. I don't know that it was really, well known to the masses, so to speak. So I highly encourage people to pick that book up as well.
Yeah, that's another one that I haven't yet to read that I really wanted to, because I remember listening to the interview and I really enjoyed it. It was a good interview. Yeah.
Yeah, Maria's she's amazing because you can tell she's just got a huge brain. Like, she's just really, really like one of those people that I just think, man, if I come back in my next life, I would like to have a brain like that. Like, Cory Doctorow, that kind of level brain. But anyway.
Alas, we are who we are, Rebecca.
That's true. Okay. Do you have another one?
I have, so my fourth book is going to be one that I haven't read yet, but this is the a one that I am looking forward to reading. Hopefully I'll pick it up this month, actually. And it's also by an author who I've been wanting to read, but have yet to read. And it is Tomboy Survival Guide by Ivan Coyote.
Mm.
Yes. And it's a memoir about growing up outside the gender binary. I just think it sounds really, I know they wrote another book recently. Oh, shoot. What was that about? Also, it was nonfiction. No, it's out of my brain. But so this author has been percolating around in like my book atmosphere, and I've yet to pick up one of their books, it's annoying me. So I'm like, this is the month I'm going to pick this one up.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, the one I want to mention. So I get the newsletter from Trish Talks Books, and her latest newsletter had a list of books, Pride Month kind of books from BuzzFeed. That's what it was.
Okay.
And one of the books they mentioned made me totally want to read this. And again, going to Goodreads. Sorry, everybody. It's just my go-to today. It's called Open Throat by Henry Hoke. And it says here, a lonely, lovable, queer mountain lion narrates the star-making fever dream of a novel. And it says a queer and dangerously hungry mountain lion lives in the drought-devastated land under the Hollywood sign. Lonely and fascinated by humanity's foibles, the lion spends their days protecting the welfare of a nearby homeless encampment, observing obnoxious hikers complain about their trauma, and in quiet moments, grappling with the complexities of their gender identity, memories of a vicious father, and the indignities of sentience. And then it says, I have so much language in my brain, our lion says, and nowhere to put it.
Oh my God, that sounds
Doesn't
so
that
good.
sound amazing?
It does.
Doesn't it? Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
that's the one and so I actually put a hold on it for my library. I think it doesn't come out till a certain date in the beginning of June, I think. And so
Okay.
I have a hold on it, so to speak, but I'm waiting for a copy to be, ready to be loaned. And I don't know if I don't know where I am on the wait list for that, but yeah.
Oh, that sounds good. Good one.
I think we've mentioned some really good titles,
Yeah.
but I also think I'll speak for myself and say that I really need to step up my pace and start to definitely look at more queer literature, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, because I am woefully underread in that genre.
Yeah, I think I am too. I'm doing better, but I think that's only in the last year or so that I've kind of not been making more of an effort, that they've just kind of been appearing. So I'm wondering if that's also just getting more queer authors are getting published too than used to. I just thought of another one that I'm really looking forward to that I don't think that this will surprise anyone. And it's Elliot Page's new memoir. That one, which I think is coming out very soon as well, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I'm seeing if I can find the name of it and stuff. So that one I am really looking forward to as well.
That one's actually on the BuzzFeed list as well. Yeah, that one. I did see that one as well.
That's it. Yeah. Pageboy, a memoir. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this podcast. And like I said, I think we're going to try and look at more sort of themes that come up and adding to the conversation about those books in different genre or whatever subject matter. So because I realize I have to really open up and expand my reading horizons. And I think that will be a great way for me to do that.
You can start with Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, happy reading, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on our bookish journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing Canada Reads American Style wherever you listen. You can connect with the podcast and Rebecca on Instagram at Canada Reads American Style and with Tara at On a Branch Reads. Until next time, keep reading.